I'm putting
Thank you in advance.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. Good morning, and welcome to Northern Lights Spiritual Center. Northern Lights Spiritual Center is a community of people dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. Northern Lights Spiritual Center offers practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes in our lives. We acknowledge our presence here on the traditional and unceded lands of the first people of Seattle, the Duwamish and Coastal Salish peoples. These people are still here, and we join with them in how they continue to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. We seek to resist the erasure of Indigenous histories as we work towards honoring and inviting the truth. Please join me for our opening song, In This Very Room, by Ron and Carol Harris. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough peace and quite enough power to walk through our every fear. For Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room. In this very room.
Well, good morning, all.
Good morning.
Good morning, Stephanie. So let's prepare for this. Let's take this off first. Okay. So let's prepare for this morning's meditation by allowing ourselves to get comfortable in our seats, putting our hands in our laps in an open, upright position, and allowing our eyes to close. So let's take 3 deep cleansing breaths in and out together. So let's breathe in. And let it go. Breathe in. And let it go. And one more time in. And let it go. And allowing your breath to return to its normal rate of in and out. Just allow your body to completely relax. From the bottom of your feet to the top of your head. Just allow everything to just be still and relaxed. And so this morning, our mantra is I forgive and I let go. I forgive and I let go. I forgive and I let go. So now repeat the mantra to yourself and be in a state of forgiving and letting go. I forgive and I let go. I forgive and I let go. And so as we allow ourselves to come back into this room, back into this space, we know that we are always in this place and always in this space of being able to forgive and to let go. And so it is. So this morning's reading does come off my phone, but it's from Psychology Today, and it's by Abigail Brenner, MD. And it's 5 reasons why it's important to forgive. And there is, I'm sure, I don't even know who said this, but to err is human, to forgive is divine. And we've all heard that one. Out of the blue, I received a phone call a few days ago from an acquaintance of mine. I don't speak to this person very frequently, so I was surprised to hear from her. She had a question about forgiveness and wanted my opinion. She had been struggling for much of her life with someone very close to her who had hurt her deeply. She went on to say that she believed that a serious illness she was suffering was a direct result, in part, of the harm that had been done to her and of the constant conflict emotionally and psychologically that she lived with. Can you forgive someone who has hurt you so profoundly as to have caused deep-seated damage to your body, heart, mind, and soul? If so, what form would the forgiveness take? Does forgiving mean forgetting? How do you move on from the hurt and sorrow? I'm sure most of you at one time or another have experienced a situation where you have felt that someone who you cared enough about has caused you pain, anger, and sadness because of some kind of serious breach in your relationship. This could be due to an innocent misunderstanding or a contrived betrayal. When someone has done you wrong, can you work it through and get on with the relationship? Or has irreparable damage been done? What if you can't walk away because the relationship is so personal, so intimate? Think parent, sibling, spouse, or a once dear friend. I spoke to this person from my heart and from my experience, but I learned a lot from her about the consequence of not forgiving. What happens to a person when a hurt festers and grows? And then I was surprised to hear, although maybe I shouldn't have been, that there was the whole dynamic of holding on to hurt as a way of being. In other words, hurt takes on a whole dynamic by which you live. How do you ever let that go? So many questions and issues. I guess where I come out in all of this, and this is purely my opinion, is that finding forgiveness is an essential thing to do for your own well-being and for your future health and safety and sanity. Here are 5 reasons why being able to forgive frees you to move on to your life. This is number 1. When you forgive someone, you forgive yourself. That may sound like a nice little catchy phrase, but it's true. Bearing a grudge against someone who has hurt you is not just about what you have done, what they have done to you. It's about what you have allowed to happen to you. I want to say that part one again. It's about what you have allowed to happen to you. Sometimes you can't help what happens to you in a relationship because you're just going along doing what you do. You don't always know when someone is angry with you, resentful of you, jealous of you, unless they tell you. And often they don't until there's a breaking point, often a betrayal, and it all comes out. Forgiving yourself is allowing that you didn't know, didn't understand, didn't act in a way that could have short-circuited the conflict. When you forgive yourself, you allow resentment and hurt to be replaced by healing. You are taking an action that will course correct your life and well-being. Number 2, forgiving gets you out of the victim mode. Ooh, who doesn't like to be a victim sometimes? Anyway, forgiveness breaks the bonds that tie you negatively to another person. You can forgive while not forgetting. What happened to you, happened. There's no denying that. And you should not try to pretend that everything is back to normal. It isn't. You may forgive someone and never choose to see them again. That's your choice after all is said and done. It's a matter of whether or not you can ever trust that person or set of circumstances again. No longer a victim, no longer controlled by negative energy, you can focus on becoming stronger, on establishing your own integrity, on building your own character so that you know yourself well enough to never allow yourself to be caught in a situation of terrible compromise and pain. Number 3, forgiveness frees you. It allows you to take your power back. The energy and emotion you have so deeply invested in a certain person or situation is now free to be moved to someone or something that is positive for your growth and emotional, psychological, and physical health. You are no longer chained to an entity that saps your energy and takes the life out of you. And freeing yourself may allow you to see this person or situation in a whole different light. Instead of focusing on all of the negative, forgiving may allow you to remember all of the positive that once were and probably still are there. Number 4, forgiveness helps your health. Negative emotions rob your energy and takes a toll on your body, mind, and spirit. Anger, anxiety, depression, and undue stress generates a negative influence on your body. These can cause elevated blood pressure, heart rate, and the feeling of being out of control. The intensity can run the gamut from mild discomfort to very intense physical reactions. Having someone you care about at odds with you is, at the very least, very uncomfortable. Most of us can relate to a feeling of relief when a weight is lifted from our shoulders. We breathe a sigh of relief. And then number 5, forgiving helps you move forward on your spiritual path. Forgiveness encourages compassion. You are able to relate to others as a part of the human experience. You feel for others as you do for yourself, emotionally and psychologically unencumbered. You can begin to put the past behind you. Forgiveness is an act of kindness and goodness. It is a path to peace. And so it is.
Stole the top. It's always nice to repeat it.
Well, the points will be emphatic now. So this month's chant is, I am remembering my bright inner light, remembering how Spirit and I are one, remembering how Spirit is all that I am. And we sing that through 2 times. And then we go on to our next verse, which is, you are remembering, and then we are remembering, and then back to I am remembering. I am remembering my bright inner light, remembering how Spirit and I are one, remembering now Spirit is all that I am. I am remembering my bright inner light, remembering how Spirit and I are one, remembering now Spirit is all that I am. Now you are remembering your bright inner light, remembering how Spirit and you are one, remembering how Spirit is all that you are. You are remembering your bright inner light, remembering how Spirit and you are one, remembering now Spirit is all that you are. Now we are remembering our bright inner light, remembering how Spirit and we are one, remembering now Spirit is all that we are. We are remembering our bright inner light, remembering how Spirit and we are one, remembering now Spirit is all that we are.
And now come back to I and really feel it.
I am remembering my bright inner light, remembering how Spirit and I are one,
just before you say something you can't take away. Take a breath and let it out. Try to think about what would love do now. Wondering if you should cross that line for good. Whatever you decide, ask yourself from inside, what would love do now? Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we try for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter, just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what will love do now? Everything is either an act of love or a cry for love. That's why for love we die for love. In the end, that's all we know that's real. Whether right or wrong doesn't matter, just as long as you let your heart decide. Ask yourself from inside, what will love do? Sing it from inside with me, y'all. What will love do? Let me hear you sing it, people.
What would love do now?
Sing it one more time for me, y'all.
What would love do now?
Thank you.
Now, Reverend Pamelagrace.
Thank you, Reverend Michael, and thank you, Reverend Vaughn, for that beautiful chant.
Thank you.
Just lovely. I highly recommend you go back to YouTube. Those of you out there in Facebook land, and welcome, welcome, welcome to our Zoom presence and our in-person presence as well. So you all know I'm Reverend Pamela. And Stephanie and I have decided to do forgiveness again. Only our intention has been to take you and ourselves a little deeper. And Stephanie has already started that, so I can eliminate my review. Covered some of that. Thank you. Thank you very much for your thoughtfulness and your research. We've talked about forgiveness, and it's we talked about the fact that it's healthier, and science is now agreeing with us, and it's not so much for the, I call it perk, but it's not so much for the person we're not, or the situation we're not forgiving, it's more for us. So I wanted to add some depth and perhaps different perspectives to this. But first I want to tell you a little story. This is my favorite story. One of them. So there's this little girl, and her name is Shirley Ann, and her dad comes home, and Shirley Ann is sniffing to be the bed. And there's little tears, the remains of tears. Now she's just sniffing. And he says, "Baby, what happened? What happened?" And she says, "Billy put gum in my hair." And Billy is her older brother. Shirley Ann's 4, Billy's 6. He looks and he can see where there is now a cut. Her mama cut the gum out. And so little Shirley Ann now has this funny hair standing up, and the rest of her hair is down. And Daddy says, Would it help if we went to get some ice cream? And Shirley Ann perks right up. Oh, ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. Yeah. And he says, well, should we take Billy too? She says, no. Billy's bad. So he takes little Shirley in the hand, and she's skipping toward the door, and he passes by Billy, and Billy's looking like this. He's not feeling it. And as they're walking out of the door, Daddy says to little Shirley Ann, so what did you do to Billy before he put that gun on? That's the story.
So we never know.
We don't know what she did to Billy before he put the gun in her hair, but we know she did. So that kind of touches across my points today. And one of them, and Stephanie already mentioned it in her reading, and I'm going to get to that. But first I'd like to go over here. So over here is about forgiving yourself, and I'm going to go a little more into that. I have been practicing forgiving people, as you know, because you were probably at my last talk. I have been practicing forgiving people actively practicing for probably 30 years. And I haven't run out of opportunities to forgive. I say forgiveness is like washing the dishes. You wash the dishes, or you put them in the dishwasher, they're all clean, you eat, they're dirty. You wash the dishes, you put them in the dishwasher, they're all clean, you eat, they're dirty. Forgiveness is like that. I can walk out the door and have a reason to need to forgive somebody yet again, or somebody brand new. I might even have a need to be forgiven myself. So forgiveness is a continual process. And unfortunately, it's not it's all good experience. It's not like, okay, I forgive you and you're forgiven. There is some inner work to be done. There's also some practical work to be done. I think it was 25 years ago, and that's how long this has remained with me. I had an exercise that I participated in a workshop, where they took us through this process of letting go. And they said, okay, first tell us the story. I'll use little Shirley Ann. Billy put gum in my hair. And then the next question would be, and of course you go on and on about the story. You know how we love to go on and on about the story. We just get into our story. We love our story. We embrace our story. And we say, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. You know, we say that in fun, but we do stick to it. So you tell the story. And then you talk about how you felt. Because frequently we'll just say something like, oh, sure they had, Billy put gum in my hair. And we won't go into, and I felt really terrible, and now I'm going to go around looking ugly because I got gum in my hair, and I don't know how I'm going to get it out, and it's really scary, and I feel like a, whatever little Shirley Ann might feel like. So you go into the feelings. And then here comes the fun part. And the next question is, what do you think the perp was thinking? Why do you think the perp did that? Or why do you think that situation occurred? What was going on from their side? What was going on for little Billy? Well, maybe little Billy was tired of having a little sister who was getting all the attention. Maybe little Billy was tired of chewing his gum and he was looking for somewhere to put it.
I like that.
Maybe little Billy felt that this would be a good way to get little sister to have short hair like he had, because mom would have to cut it out because she wouldn't be able to just pull it out. So you go into the position, the shoes of the perp, or the perspiration, as in the situation of that you're unhappy with. What was going on there? Now, an even more drastic example is you step off the curb, you get hit by a truck. What was going on the truck driver's side? I saw one truck on the freeway screeching to a halt, burning tires, etc., because somebody had crossed over in front of them. What was going on? Did they not see? Were they looking ahead at the traffic and they missed you? What was going on the side of the situation or person that you're having trouble forgiving? This is so important because we're usually walking around in our little bubble. It's all about us. Okay, yes, it's true. You know it's true. You know. I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and she was saying, well, why won't people get their vaccination? But I just don't understand. I said, it's because you're in your bubble. They have another bubble. And they're in their bubble. And the bubbles are not connected. They have a whole thing going on around why they're not getting vaccinated. We have a whole thing going on, those of us who've gotten vaccinated, around why we're in two separate bubbles. So we get in our little bubble. So moving to the other side helps build a little hallway between bubbles. We can crawl out of our bubble and down the hallway into their bubble and get a feel or an understanding of what's going on for them. So the question, what happened? This is what happened. How did you feel about it? Bad. What was going on for them? Not a clue. We'll make it up. What was going on for them? You may not, you don't actually know unless you talk to them. And then they may not give you the truth, because I do it all the time. They don't tell me the truth. I have to keep coming back at it and coming back at it till I finally get, in some situations, what was going on. So what was going on for them? Don't know, make it up. And then the final. This is the pièce de résistance, as the French say. This is the part you can't resist. This is the bomb. How did you get them to do that to you?
Oh.
How did you get that truck to hit you? Now the initial response is obvious with little Shirley Ann. What did she do? Oh, she did something to Billy. You know she did. She kicked over his toy soldiers, or she scribbled on his notepad, paper, or something. But the truck, how did you get the truck to hit you? Obviously you didn't see it coming. So perhaps how you got the truck to hit you was by not looking to the left. I'm sure there have been times out there where you were looking to the right and something was coming from the left. Or you were looking back and something was coming from the front and you got hit, so to speak. You were concentrating somewhere else and you didn't see what was coming down the road. This could be anything. Or worse yet, you saw it coming down the road, but you didn't think it was going to hit you. It's like so often when I was working in corporate America, the organization would be letting go of people here or there because they were downsizing in little bits and pieces. And many people were saying, not going to happen to me. They need me. I'm an engineer. What are they going to do without an engineer? Pink slip, they're gone. Because they were looking over here, I'm an engineer, and over there was a pink slip. I know that's a sad analogy, but there were hints that we weren't looking at. So how did I get them to do it to me? Now here's the deal. You're going to be saying, I didn't do nothing. I was just doing my job, and out of the blue. Well, not necessarily. In the job factor, I will admit that I had one situation where we could say we agreed that I wasn't a fit. I wasn't a fit. And they told me, you don't act like an employee, you act like a consultant. Well, I was a consultant when they hired me. I was their consultant.
Then I came into the organization, and yes, I was still acting like a consultant. When they said, we want to do ABC, I said, that's going to get you sued. You shouldn't do that. And they, you can't tell us what to do. And I'm like, yeah, that's my job, isn't it? Oops, no, maybe it isn't. So how did I get them to do it to me? I didn't fit. And I told them what I thought, and they didn't want to hear that. They wanted yes people. My bad. If you don't know how you got them to do it to you, because you might still be, remember the story? It's my story, I'm sticking to it. If you don't know how you brought this potentially on yourself, make it up. Just make it up. Make it up. You don't have to stick to it. Just make it up. Because all of this, as Stephanie said in her reading, is moving you out of the victim mode. We want to get out of the victim mode. And it is so easy to be the victim all the time. If it doesn't go the way you want it to go, you are the victim. Look what you did to me. Look what they did to me. Look what it's all doing to me. The universe is not on my side. Yes, it is. It all depends on how you look at it. So you make that part up because we never like to look at it. But once you do that, it will set you free. Stephanie mentioned forgiveness, Steph. Set you free in her reading. It will set you free. There is something that moves aside and allows us to be more of who we are, allows us to be a little lighter, and allows us to begin the healing process for ourselves. Now remember that little exercise. What did they do? How did you feel about it? What was going on for them that made them do it? And then how did you get them to do it to you? Once you go through all of that, you have begun to let go of the oomph, the stuff, the anger, the upset, the hurt. It just kind of moves away like when you blow your nose. It's a good thing. Back to forgiving yourself. I have my very own turn on forgiving yourself. I won't say twist. I'm going to say hack. Hurt hack. It hacks the hurt, helps the healing. In the forgiving of myself, I have a new one. Forgive myself for not being able to forgive that which I think I ought to forgive. I'm mad. They did it to me. It's my story. I'm sticking to it. And I'm forgiving myself for not being able to move right now. It's a really strong step in the right direction. Just saying, okay, Pamela, you're just not big enough. You thought you were spiritually evolved, but you're not as spiritually evolved as you thought you were. Okay. Okay. You went to ministerial school. That was supposed to make you a saint. It didn't. Okay. Okay. My bad. So I forgive myself for not being there yet. I might have to go through that process. You know, here's my story, here's how I felt about it. I wonder, here's what they may have been thinking, and this is how I got them to do it to me. I might have to go through that a few times on the same situation. Because I'm going through it on one surface level, then I'm going a little deeper, and then ideally I'm going to get to a closer truth of it, which will allow me to forgive it. But in the meantime, I forgive myself for not being able to forgive in this moment. I love that. I think it's just wonderful. And I will say that forgiving the perp sometimes helps the perp. There have been any number of situations where I made a mistake. Yes, me, I did. And oops. You know, it's out of my mouth now. It's out of, I've already done it. I can't, what is it? You can't unring a bell. The bell done run. I can't change that. But when I've been given the chance to fix it, when I've been approached with, Pamela, what were you thinking when you told her blah, 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 blah? And I'm given a chance to say, well, I was thinking she might like blah, 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 but you're saying, no, she didn't like it because she came back and told you she did not like that. Okay, so let's talk about how I can fix it. Let's talk about what I can do to help that person heal that. Any number of times I have been, over my time, and usually this has been in a work situation, I have been so thankful that they were saying to me, how do you want to try to fix this? Or what are you learning from this? Or do you understand what you did and why it caused the problem it caused? And that gives me the opportunity, me being the perp in this situation, to take corrective action and to learn from it. So forgiveness can help the perp, the person that we're so upset with. And we can have that conversation, you know, this upset me, what were you thinking? What's going on with you that you would, in the situation I have in my mind, that you would say what you said? Versus, my other approach would be, I don't like what you said, and if you ever say it again, you and I are through. Instead of going there, what was going on for you? Now, I will confess, my friends, that I have to get there, because usually when you and I are through is how I'm feeling, that's how I'm feeling. But once I calm down, then coming back and saying, so what was going on for you in that, my dear perp? What made you say that? Oh, you were afraid that. And then we can get somewhere in our relationship, whatever that relationship is. So we can't help the perp. That process of trying to understand what's happening. Remember, here's the story, here's how I felt about it. This is what might have been their side of it, and here's how I got them to do it to me. We take ourselves out of the victim role. Right? It's, as I said, it sets us free, but it also keeps us out of the victim role, and the victim role is like washing dishes. We free ourselves from being a victim from that situation, and then somebody takes the parking spot we thought we were going to take. How dare they? We're back into victim. We don't even see it as victim, and we go home, and I was at Safeway, and they came in and they took my spot. Well, there's only a spot in the parking lot. There's other spots. But no, we're going to have all of this stuff around somebody. I'm telling you we do, because somebody just was going on last week about somebody taking their parking spot in a place where there were other parking spots. It wasn't like they were going to have to go to another city to park. Just wasn't that big a deal. That's a whole lot of energy for a frickin' parking spot. Don't you think? Mm-hmm. So anyway, catching ourselves in the victim mode is so important, because we pile that stuff up. And it becomes like toxic waste. I don't know how many of you have been in the room with someone who's still going on and on about the grudges and the upsets and the hurts that they have known, come across, reacted, and related to all of their lives? I know some folks, well, one in particular, who has the same song. And they did this and they did that. And the they is the same. And the they is gone on living their lives. And they are still, and the they is out of their control. You know, it's not like the kid in their house who's doing whatever they're doing in the house that you don't want them to do. It's like, you know, it's like the kid who's grown up, moved on, and lives across the country. And they did this and they did that. And it's like, they're grown, they're across the country, you rarely talk to them. Why are you still going on? My experience of it is, I don't want to be in your room with you. Or I'm going to keep it to 5 minutes. Because here we go again, I've heard that story over and over again. I have gotten better. I have been able to change the subject in such a way that we go on to something else. But it's toxic. It is, it's an energy that permeates the room. It's an energy that walks in the room with you. There are some people, apparently, who are not sensitive to energy. I am amazed at how many people are not. Because going back to when I was working for corporations, occasionally I would say, did you feel how angry Andy was? And people would say, huh? And Andy had been mad, as angry as a hornet's nest that had been poked. But apparently I was the only one who could pick it up. Until Andy explodes at some point. So there is an energy. Not everybody feels it. But enough people feel it for you to want to be concerned. Okay. You want to think about, what am I doing with my energy? I have one friend who apparently I had my toxic moments with from my end. And he said, so Pamela, when you're upset, what do you do? And I say, I fuss and cuss. And he says, well, you consider going for a walk or working out or taking a hike. And I thought, you know, I know what he's saying here. One, I've been complaining too much. And two, he's absolutely right. And I read that, and interestingly enough, it was a gender thing. Men tend to just physically work things out. And women tend to talk them out. But I thought, I'm taking a page out of his book and going to the gym, or going for a walk, or doing something physical, cleaning up the house, doing some of the stuff I hate, scrubbing the sinks and the toilets and stuff. All of that actually does, in fact, get that toxicity buildup, that toxic energy. It does get it out of our system. That's a good thing. Try it, let me know how it works.
Yeah.
So, my last, and I really like this. Okay, so this is the good stuff. This is really good. Self-forgiveness. Remember, even if you can't forgive them, forgive yourself for not being able to forgive them. So here's the juicy part. Forgiving yourself has collateral impact. You've heard of collateral damage, where you do something wrong or whatever and other people are harmed by it. So collateral impact in the positive is that you do something right and it reaches into other areas of your life. And by that I mean, so when I'm forgiving myself for whatever harm I may have done, forgiving myself for not being able to forgive where I ought to, when I do that, something, I'm going to say magic happens. something shifts. I start taking better care of myself. I start caring a little more about myself. I start making decisions that are healthier for me, that are clearer for me. And it just happens from being willing to check inside and see what's important to me, discern what's important to me. Not what should be important to me, but really what's in my heart. And then taking care of myself by acknowledging and going with my heart. A simple, mundane example is yesterday I had a whole bunch of things to do. Errands to run, tasks to do, and I wanted to polish this talk. And I was supposed to have a girlfriend come over for dinner. We were going to either bring takeout or go get takeout and bring it back. And I was thinking, I'm too busy. I've got too many things to do. I can't see her, and we've canceled twice because of her, and now we're going to cancel because of me. And then I thought, wait a minute, what am I saying to myself? I'm saying I don't have enough time. What if I changed that? What if I said, I have all kinds of time. I have as much time as I think I don't have. I have time. I can spread these little tasks out. I don't have to do them all in the next 6 hours. And spending a couple of hours with my girlfriend, I checked in, my friends, on my heart. I said, what does my heart want to do? Does my heart want to vacuum the living room, or does my heart want to see my girlfriend? I said, my heart wants to see my girlfriend. I haven't seen her in a couple of months. We have a good, several. I want to see her. Everything else we'll just handle as we handle it. That's what we did. We had a lovely dinner, and I got just about everything done. I didn't get the clothes folded in the den, so we didn't go in the den. I said, you can't go in the den's messy, but the rest of the house is good. But I checked into my heart. I also noticed what I was thinking. And we've talked about that before, and where it was leading, and what I could shift to bring it back to where it should be. This literally was collateral impact in the positive. By continuing to forgive myself, I shifted to taking care of myself, which centered around knowing what was in my heart. The song that Eddie Watkins sang just before the talk, what would love do now? That's where that comes from. What would love do now? What would I do now if I really loved me? What would be most important to me? Vacuuming or welcoming my girlfriend? I did vacuum, but I didn't have to. So, collateral impact. It not only impacts, in closing, us in our little bubble, but when we can forgive ourselves, when we can have more empathy for ourselves, when we can touch our hearts, we can spread it out and think about other folks and how is life with them in relation to us, or how might life be with them, period. One quote I read, and I forgot who made it, but it was somebody well known, and he said, treat everyone as though there's a major tragedy behind their eyes. And when I read it, I thought, huh. But as I have talked to people, particularly lately, the past year or two, I have found that to be true. Some form of tragedy, and I'm saying tragedy, not took my parking space in Safeway, has been quietly sitting behind so many people's eyes. So, as we treat ourselves better, we treat others better. And that can even stretch out to the world. We're making a difference simply by beginning to respect, love, and forgive ourselves. So I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to ask Reverend Ron to come sing his lovely chant one more time, because it's a chanty song that we can recall, and close with that. Reverend Ron. He didn't know I was going to do this.
So you wanted through all the variations of
Yes.
I, you, we, and I?
You do whatever you feel is right.
Okay.
So what are you feeling?
I guess we'll just take each one, we'll do each one time,
Okay.
going from I to you to we to I. I am remembering my bright inner light, remembering how Spirit and I are one, remembering now Spirit is all that I am. Now you are remembering your bright inner light, remembering how Spirit and you are one, remembering now Spirit is all that you are. Now we are remembering our bright inner light, remembering how Spirit and we are one, remembering now Spirit is all that we are. Back to I. I am remembering my bright inner light, remembering how Spirit and I are one, remembering now Spirit is all that I am.
Thank you, Reverend Pamela. That was a genius move. Because as we went through the chant, it felt so much different than at the beginning of service. And I thank you, Reverend Vaughn, for your monthly endeavors on there, because there's no way, well, I shouldn't say that. You know, if I had to, I probably could somehow, but I'm very grateful for that. And thank you for Stephanie for being in here and giving us those five steps, which I wish you would email that.
Okay.
So that we could share it. Stephanie always comes up with great readings, and her research is spot on. And it's amazing how that works. You know, you just get a little bit of information, and you just kind of go with it, and poof, there it is. And so yeah, this whole thing, about the victim, holding on to that victim crap. I have some that I probably have held on. Let's see, I'm going to be 71, so probably 60 years, I would say, or maybe even a little more. I know one, for instance, I've shared with Reverend Vaughn a few times. Why don't I let go of that? That's so stupid, you know. Sometimes I guess we have our reasons. I guess we need a story. these stories that we
Like a story.
we do love our stories, you know. And sometimes our stories seem to just balloon out. And just think of what we could do if we switch that around. What glorious lives we could have. So yeah, this was a great talk, because when I was trying to get into ministerial school, I had to do for an exception because I didn't have a college degree, and I did a term paper on forgiveness, and that was a real enlightening process. So I want to thank everybody who's out there in virtual land, and the people here in the physical form, for your presence here, and for all that you do for humanity, and all that you do for life itself. Today, they say that today is International Love Your Pet Day.
And Muffin Day.
And Muffin Day.
And muffin.
So get yourself a muffin and share it with your pet.
Excuse
So
for a
the
farm.
idea is that why, I mean, you should love your pet every day.
And have a muffin every day.
And have a muffin
With your
every day.
pet.
Preferably blueberry.
Yep.
And certain things that we celebrate as like Valentine's Day. It's supposed to be about love. Why don't we celebrate that every minute of every day, instead of picking out, you know, a specific time and place? You know, you could have 2 muffins in a day, you know. But it's the whole thing that we're human, you know, and we go through all this human stuff. And so I just want to thank everyone for who they are and what they are, and what you bring to the world, what you bring to your table and to the table of your community. And I am so grateful for this community here. Even though we are a small community, we thrive. We, honest to God, thrive. And I'm grateful for that. And so with that, I just want to reaffirm that you know, God is love, and that each one of us are that love that God is. That love divine that weaves in and out through each and every one of us. For we were conceived in love. And we were here to love and to learn to love. And so with that, I give thanks for knowing that, for feeling it, for being that love that you want to be in this life. And so I release, I let it go, and so it is. Amen. Those of you on Zoom, you can hang in there.
Phyllis has her hand up. I wonder if does she have something?
Itchy.
No.